Okay, hello everyone. I am doing this out in the general area in my apartment building because my wife and baby are very much asleep. So I will just begin. This is my analysis or presentation on alternative education models, specifically the Montessori method, which for many was a revolutionary approach to education that centers and prioritizes the child's curiosity and promotes the child's independence. My name is James, and I'm passionate about a lot of things, but here we are in uh, EDU guided observation, and take a moment to say that I am also passionate about education. I have quite a you know personal history. I mean, of course, we all do. My parents were teachers, but along the way, I've come to find out about alternative teaching methods. My father was an educator, and he himself also uh, dabbled in alternative teaching methods. One of which was the Waldorf school, which kind of is adjacent to the Montessori methodology of teaching. Um, During this presentation, I'm going to present to you a few things, mainly like a short history of the Montessori method, who created it, its basic principles and practices, and how it's relevant today. Um, why is the Montessori method unique? It resonates with so many people. It's a very popular method. Um, it's uh, it's adaptable because it fits into the humanity of ourselves. It's not so rigid. As far as like public education goes. So that being said, I'm going to try to provide you a better understanding of the Montessori method, and perhaps you can come away with something that you can use. I know as college students, we're kind of navigating uh, a world in which critical thinking and self-discipline and adaptability, uh, seems to be lacking at times. Um, the focus of the Montessori method cultivates at an early age uh, these pillars, these tenets of character, and sometimes it may seem like that is lacking um, in, in public education. Uh, why does the Montessori method matter? Again, as far as like traditional education is concerned, it, it traditional education often emphasizes kind of rote, uh, banal memorization and standardized testing techniques, and other very rigid manners of education. But the Montessori offers an alternative that can foster creativity. Uh, it can help motivate, and it can also introduce values into your own studies. Um, it's just a way of dealing with the information out there. Uh, Understanding the Montessori method can or might inspire you to rethink how learning environments shape us, whether in the classroom or in your own academic pursuit of, whatever the heck you're doing, whether that be, a teacher in some other capacity. We will cover 5 areas throughout this presentation. And the history is what I will start with, the origins of Montessori, uh, its core principles, the person that uh, introduced it to us, how it's implemented in classrooms, and its benefits and challenges. So you can take notes or you can just listen. Either way, I shall go ahead. The history and origins of the Montessori method dates back to the turn of the century of the 1800s and 1900s. It was created by Italian Roman Maria Montessori. She was a physician, an educator, one of the more influential figures in modern education. And she was a kind of an outspoken woman at a time when women weren't, uh, you know, supported in such endeavors as higher education. She broke barriers, glass ceilings. She was Italy's first female doctor, medical doctor. Um, and initially, she was working with children with intellectual disabilities, which shaped her educational outlook, perspective. Um, Her observations of these children and their ability to learn through sensory engagement would lead her to question traditional education methods, which she found to be too rigid and disconnected from children's natural way of dealing with the world. Um, According to Kramer's 1988 biography, Maria Montessori, a biography, her medical background gave her a particularly unique lens that enabled her to blend science with empathy for children's developmental needs. She opened her first Montessori school in a low-income district in Rome, serving children ages 3 to 6 for working class families. This was not a traditional school, but a living experiment where Montessori tested her ideas, observed the children, and how they interacted with the materials that she introduced and their environment when given freedom with certain structures. She noticed children displayed more focus and more self-discipline when engaged to purposeful tasks, challenging, the norms of the time that young children were simply chaotic or incapable of, complex learning, so to speak. Um, Her book, The Montessori Method, printed in 1912, emphasized these things and a scientific approach to education based on observation and adapting to those observations. She was a prominent figure in the education complex at the time. She traveled extensively across Europe and the United States, and would try to leverage some kind of like knowledge onto people that would listen. This was all during World War II as well, when she was doing this, and she had to eventually flee Italy for India, where she further developed her philosophy and technique. Um, Decades and decades later, there are over 22,000 Montessori schools worldwide, including 5,000 in the U.S. alone, and that's according to the American Montessori Society, published in 2023. Uh, her the significance of Montessori's, I guess, philosophy at the time uh, challenged the authoritarian, teacher uh, centric centered model of the early 20th century education, which typically prioritized obedience over curiosity. Uh, Her emphasis on child autonomy aligned with emerging psychological theories such as exploring like social learning, or the beginning of child psychology, which she was a big part of. Key takeaway for this is that the Montessori method emerged from Maria's pioneering work, and it's rooted in scientific observation that 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 buoys or supports the belief that children are naturally capable learners when given the right environment to do so. Um, that being said, I will give you some core principles as to what the Montessori method encompasses. The most prominent one of which is child-centered learning, which is the cornerstone of Montessori. It's the focus on the child as an active participant in their learning, rather than the educators being passive recipients of, or more so the educators are enabling the children to learn as they need to, when they need to, instead of forcing them to consume information that they may or may not, they may not be ready for, or not, entirely important to them. Um, the Montessori method took a specific, I guess, way of dealing with education, and I guess uh, fed it some qualities of empathy and humanity and understanding. I think because the what we had, at the time, what the world had at the time uh, was anything but that style of learning. Um, for example, a 4-year-old might spend an hour perfecting a puzzle or perfecting letter sounds because they're genuinely engaged, not because it's required. Um, it's these, it's the idea that if you gave a child the opportunity to learn something that they can uh, engage with in a way that doesn't require them to feel as if they're being forced. Um, that is the primary uh, focus of this particular learning method. Um, Children are given freedom to choose activities that align with their interests. Uh, there's no like the schedule is not so tight where it corrals uh, children into doing things that they maybe don't necessarily want to do or feel confident in doing. Uh, Research has found that the Montessori method, students of the Montessori method, have showed higher levels of intrinsic motivation compared to peers in traditional schools, leading to better academic and social outcomes. This is a study that was done by Lydiard and Alice Quest back in 2006. My sincerest apologies. I have to deal with my dog that wants to go outside here. Okay, thank you. I hope this doesn't totally detract from my points that I'm giving you. But what I am trying to articulate is the way in which Montessori provided the space for children to figure themselves out in so many ways. One of the important factors of the Montessori method is the environment, the space in which the children are in. Montessori classrooms are meticulously designed. They're designed to promote independence and exploration, and often it's described as a prepared environment. I would go so far as to say that many education models are prepared environments. For instance, the shelves are low and accessible. They aren't like it's not as if adults build them for adults in an adult world. There's thought put into the way in which the space would embed or uh, or work with the children at the time. So it was important for Montessori to have an environment that didn't obstacle this flow of knowledge attainment. Typically, the environment is calm. There's a lot of natural lighting. What I've come to find in my experiences, there's minimal clutter. There's a lot of natural elements that are designed for little people, children, you know, all to help them be better learners. It's the natural elements and the way in which they keep the clutter down that really sets it apart from other public school, traditional models of education. Another important facet of the Montessori method is the role of the teacher. Montessori teachers are often called guides and act as facilitators rather than traditional instructors, where they observe children and introduce materials at precise moments so as to better harmonize with the children's learning. There's also mixed age classrooms where the children are grouped into multi-age groups spanning 3 years. So a group of kids ages 3 to 6 and 6 to 9, so on and so forth. This to help, I guess, a best way to put it is to mimic the social structures that we find ourselves in our adult lives. Um, it's very uh, everything is compartmentalized in traditional education, public education. Uh, if there's a lot of if the student body is big enough, you won't even have middle schoolers with high schoolers. Um, if the school is big enough, you won't have uh, kindergarten through sixth grade. You'll have, K through kindergarten through fourth grade, for instance. Um, an example of this way of structuring the classroom is, you might have a 6-year-old helping a 4-year-old with a spelling activity. This parallels uh, the way in which we work as a society, outside of these education models that we feed our children into until a certain age. Um, there is also a core tenet where it is put on a pedestal the the idea that the child should be respected, and there's a intrinsic motivation tethered to that where the teacher uh, comes into play as more of like a mentor than a teacher. Uh, this this speaks of Montessori in practice in the real world. Um, the Montessori classrooms, for instance, are organized into distinct areas: uh, practical life, home ec, if you will, uh, sensorial, coloring and art stuff, and then math, language, history, cultural, social studies. Materials mainly are hands-on, um, uh, enabling children to self-correct and designed to isolate one concept. So you're not mixing a bunch of ideas and techniques and methodologies all together, having them intersect each other, which can cause a lot of confusion for students. It's just not simply it's not the most natural way of learning. Um, you know, we're so much more organic with the way in which we figure out the world. As well, Montessori promotes routines, and they have work periods. Uh, for instance, one child might practice writing while another explores a map, while another counts beads. All these are tailored to helping their development. Um, as well, there's an assessment and individualized learning protocol that avoids grades and tests and uses teacher observations and portfolios and one-on-one conferences uh, to I guess level the child up and allow him to meet his goals. The benefits and challenges of the Montessori method are, I would have to say there's probably more benefits than there are challenges to this particular type of model. Some of the benefits is that the Montessori method encourages independence and allows children to manage their time and sharpen their critical thinking skills. Um, the way they do this is by applying hands-on problem solving with materials like the trinomial cube, I guess would also be, what is that, the Rubik's cube? I'm not too sure. Uh, the Yes, it is, I believe. Yeah. Anyways, uh, as well, the way in which the classrooms are constructed too, with mixed age classrooms, allows collaboration and empathy to flourish. Um, the Another benefit to this particular model is that it emphasizes uh, and cultivates a love for learning. Um, it reduces burnout and it fosters an embrace of what it means to learn. Some of the challenges, though, are that Montessori schools are private and can cost a lot of money, often exceeding $10,000 a year. Um, as well, some you know some children can struggle transitioning from traditional schools to Montessori's freedom, encouraging um, motivational uh, classroom building uh, methodology. Um, a key takeaway of this is that more often than not, the Montessori method often proves successful academically, socially, and emotionally for the children. Um, the Montessori method is a global education uh, program, and and as such, they they have initiatives and alumni from all parts of the world, and the cultures of which these these schools uh, embed themselves in um, allow quite a tapestry uh, of graduates, from various backgrounds. So, to recap on the Montessori method, we spoke of Maria and her groundbreaking work. Uh, there is a lot of opportunity for children to explore different ways of thinking and learning that might not be available in more traditional methods like public school. Um, and if if you're ever thinking of utilizing uh, any of the Montessori methods, you can look up or try to find the American Montessori Society on the internet and Montessori.org, where you can find a whole bunch of stuff that can point you in the right direction. So, in conclusion, I really thank you for sticking with me and listening to my presentation of the Montessori method. I hope this helped, and thank you very much. Have a good one.